Hey people, it's Black Friday. I took a couple of days off. We're gonna learn some dark stuff today. I got a spatter texture sprayed on my job Tuesday, and it's my first spatter texture. I think it turned out real good. I like it. And then I covered everything with a coat of primer Wednesday, so I figured I'd take Thursday and Friday off. I went to eat with my favorite stepdaughter yesterday and see the grandkids. And then I couldn't help but come home and start reading in Exodus 1, where I run into this. But this is Tamiel here. And the story is, Pharaoh orders male children killed. And he sent the midwives to throw them in the river. So Tamiel, like many of the angels, is, the god backwards, the Aleim, A-L-E-I-M. And you see it here, T-A, and then backwards and forwards after this tack, M-I-E-L, Tamiel, of the Elohim. So Tumiel, Aramaic, Tumiel, Greek, Tamiel, T-A-M-I-H-L, is the fallen angel and the fifth mention in the 20 watcher leaders of the 200 fallen angels in the book of Enoch. Tamiel, also called either Cassidy. Cassidy means, a red curly hair from the Aramaic, and the Cassidy. And you see this D with a dot in it. This is actually a TH, they, or THY, to cash they, the Chaldeans. And it's said to mean an astrologer. Tamiel is the archangel of astrology. And they say it probably comes from the cash, to conceal, or the kiss, and the hand, to kiss the hand. It's said to mean covered hand or hidden power. And the Michael Nib list translates as God is perfect. Perfection of God is Tamiel. And he was attributed as the teacher of astronomy. He also taught the children of men all the wicked strikes of spirits, strikes of demons, and the strikes of the embryo in the womb, so that it may pass away, abortion. Tamiel, the king of Egypt, commands to the midwives, when you help give birth, on the birth stools, you see it's a son, then you should kill it. And the strikes of the soul, the bites of the serpent, and the strikes which befall through the noontide heat, which is called the son of the serpent, named Tabet, meaning male. But, all through the Torah, the BN is the son, and the BT is the daughter, the female, during the days of Noah, not in the days of Jared. So assail is another word for a strike, a violent attack, assault. The one that was doing the beating, he was the assailant. So in their misinterpretation, you see it says, but feared the midwives God, and not did do. But there's so many different ways to write this, and this is why. But it starts with an A here, so it reads backwards, T-A. And the text says to read this backwards and forwards, so it's M-I-E-L, Tamiel. And then the A-E here is E-S, as in ash, A-E. If you look up the diphthong A-E, the A-E connected, I showed in other movies where you just replace it with an E-S, it's ash. And so it's Tamiel, S-E-S-A-L-E, Assail is. The Tamiel assail is will. Assail, the strikes of Tamiel. So in the Hebrew Torah, there was no Egypt. It's miseries, and it was said to be a son of Ham, M-X-R-I, and the final M is an S, miseries. And it often reads backwards and forwards. It'll have a tack. And so who yammer from like miseries, who command from like miseries. And so this miseries, they say, is Egypt. and so it was in a different place before. And so this is Orion here. You know, the Jacob staff, the red star and the blue star, and the three lined up, and it's the easiest one to see in the sky. And then this is Sirius, the brightest star in the sky, and it's the dog's nose, or the dog's eye. And then under the left paw, when you see under his left paw, that's what it's talking about. This is the star of miseries. This is the star of Egypt. And so Google doesn't like my teaching, so I can no longer get the ancient layover map that I used to show. But you can see it here on Canis. You know, the Sirius is the nose, the brightest star in the sky. And then Mirzam, M-I-R-Z-A-M. And so when it reads backwards, it's miseries. That's Egypt there. You know, the final M is the S. So the Cyrus, you know, the brightest star, marked the flooding of the Nile. When the sun came up in Cyrus, you know, it was time for the Nile to flood. And so it's the dog days. You know, among the Merzeg, Tunisia, shepherds note 6 constellations that mark the passage of the dry, hot season, misery. One of them, called Mirzam, and this is it backwards, is the miseries. You can see that Wiki doesn't have a page on that. That's why it's in red. Includes the stars of Canis Major and Canis Minor, and is the herald of 2 weeks of hot weather. So these 3 pyramids here, they represent the 3 stars of Orion's belt. And the river represents the Milky Way, so it's kind of upside down. So the miseries, the star of miseries, would have been over here around Giza or Cairo. And so this would have been the ancient Egypt over here, not over here in Necropolis. So why Yomer? You know, who command from like MLK, from like miseries, from like the hot, dry weather, of mill date. M-I-L is of, M-I, and then the dot and the L gives you 2 L's, the mill date. And it's like an expiration date on your goods, except it's the date that the flour was milled, M-I-L-L. The date that it was ground up. You know, you want to know what day your flour was milled. You don't want old flour, you don't want old feed. It'll spoil on you. Your old cow feed spoils too quick. So of the mill date, you know, the day that it was milled, who from like the hot, dry, the miseries of mill date, the ovary, O-V-R-Y, you know, the ovaries, that's where your babies come from, the mill date of the ovaries. And then the dot inside the I here gives you 2 of them, so it's the ovary it. And it rays, backwards starts with A, it rays. And then A-S-S, final M is a S. It rays ass, the act, A-H-C-H-T, the act spire uses. The act spire uses. The spire, you know, that's the, you know, it's the erect penis, the spire, used for a sundial. The act spire uses the sign it fuo. You know, the dot in the bottom of the S makes it 2 S's here. This, T-H-E-S, this sign it. And then the dot in the P makes it an F. And the dot here makes this 2 U's, you know, so it's F-U-W-O-E, fuo. You know, woe of great sorrow, distress. Uses the sign it few distress. Next line, who command Bill Dickin, you know, B-I-L-L, you know, the one who writes the bill of Dickin to her beau, you know, to her beau, her man, to her beau, ovary, what, where it in. All M is from I-N, all from in V and then AE is ES, invest. All from invest, and then AV of nice, MAN, of nice man, Ben, who, HUA, life connected power, who. Where it in all from invest of nice man, Ben, who, to omitten what was Tabit, the daughter, Tabit, not the male, but the Tabit, backwards and forwards, TBT, Tabit. The Tabit was Tabit, they power, watch, WCHYE, watch ya, the watchers. And then what tire on the mill date? What tire, like retire, like it's getting old, it's past its mill date. What tire on the mill date? Tamiel assail his will. Tamiel strikes his will as to causer, the one because of, as to causer, and then the dot in the D is the TH. THBR, the bear N backwards, starts with a A. To causer the barren, Heil, EYLA, Heil, the barren matter. To causer the barren Heil from like miseries. What they in to middle, M backwards and forwards after tech, MIDLI, to middle, and then E, the YLDI is, to meddle the yield is, to meddle with the yield, what comes out of. So the secret that Tamiel taught is down here at the bottom, and so I'm going to read over this real quick, these next couple lines to get there. But it's who farm like, and then there's attack after the king now from like, and so the miseries, reads backwards and forwards now, and it's my, MYRX, my drugs, miseries, of mill date, who command of then myth to, M, the D with the dot, and it's TH, the of then might who, of might who see, as it in it ever these, what they in to meddle the yield is. What to mourn, come the morning, what to mourn the mill date. Layer, starts with A backwards, LAE, the layer for life. The P with the dotted is F. PRO, pro is for life give. Lacking nice is a mix right. The ovary it give, and backwards and forwards, twitchy, TWICHY, what? Give twitchy what henna. Henna is Arabic, happiness, joy, peace of mind. In what to morning, in the morning, when the ovary, it give twitchy what peace of mind, henna, bothers, tavunal. People read this as taboo, but this is tavunal, and Nella is light, and that's because tavunella is the ceiling. Tavunal, the ceiling. The ovary, they give twitchy what peace of mind, henna. The twitchy what peace of mind, your baby's still alive, and bothers the ceiling. You can feel it on the top. And so that's a boy, they say, when you're carrying your baby high, that's a boy, And when you have all your weight in your butt, that's a girl. It bothers the top. The mill date will do. Why itch of mile? Mile is the backbone. Why it have mile of mill date? Wherein, whereof, has who, why, who, or who, how, who oxum to grew mighty. Oxum is, to evaporate the water of something, and oxum to make it stronger. Who oxum made, too stronger to made. And then here's the secret right here, and it's this word feared. And you can see, J-R-A-U. And it's the same here as cast them into the river. The J-A-R-E, the Jara. But it's the wage here, the wage, the job to do. The wage to give the war yarrow, Y-R-A-W. The war yarrow. And so a war yarrow is Achilla. This comes from Achilles of the millefolium. The I-U-M is the Hebrew word they say is days. The millefol day, yum. And commonly known as yarrow. Common yarrow, flowering plant, and aster-acacia is native to temperate regions in the northern hemisphere. In antiquity, yarrow was known as herba militaris, the herb of the military, for its use in stanching the flow of blood from wounds. Other common names for species, nosebleed plant, old man's pepper, devil's nettle, milfoil, soldier's woundwort. And its habitat, grows from sea level to 3,500 feet. So that's most everywhere except the tallest mountains. And commonly flowers from May to July. And so several birds used it in their nesting. And so they did experiments with the tree swallow because he doesn't use it. And they found him inhibits the growth of parasites. And it's eaten by a huge list of moths. It's cultivated and used to feed beef cattle because it gives the milk a strange flavor. And it's used to replace hops to brew beer. It was used in the U.S. Civil War. It was called soldier's woundwort. And used either starting or stopping nosebleeds, led to the common name nosebleed. And for its association with the Abrahamic devil, Abrahamic religions, Abrahamism, or a group of monotheistic religions that strictly endorse worship of God, of Abraham. And you see that in chapter 3, Moses at the burning bush, when moreover he said, I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham. It was called the bad man's plaything, the devil's nettle, the devil's plaything, old man's pepper due to its pungent flavor, with the name field hop, came from its use in beer making in Sweden. Other traditional names, arrowroot, carpenter's weed, death flower, Erie, 100 leaves grass, nightin, old man's mustard, 7 years love, snake grass, soldier, and thousand seal. In China, the yarrow and tortoiseshell are considered to be lucky, and it's the stalks that are used for divination in the I Ching. In the British Isles, the British, that's the word for Hebrew. You see in the Hebrides, the brides of Britain, the islands. A leaf held against the eye was sometimes believed to give second sight. For food, leaves have delicate grassy flavor with a slight anise taste. Makes them useful for brewing as tea. When consumed by cows, and unfavorable flavors given to their milk. So in traditional medicine, it was used possibly due for astringent effects. Yarrow, traditionally used by Native American nations, historically considered a life medicine, and chewed the plant for toothaches, used its infusion for earaches. The plant as an analgesic and head cold remedy. Native American used for healing cuts and abrasions, for relief of earaches, throat infections. Common yarrow used to reduce pain or fever and aid sleep. The dangers: in rare case, yarrow can cause severe allergic rashes, toxic to dogs, cats, horses, cause increased urination, vomiting, diarrhea, and dermatitis. In rat testing, reproductive toxicity, aqueous extracts of yarrow produce a significant increase in the percentage of abnormal sperm. So maybe this abnormal sperm was affecting the XY chromosome, and it was throwing the Y off into the river. So commanded Pharaoh all his people, saying, every son who is born into the river you shall cast, and every daughter you shall save alive. So in chemistry, the dark blue essential oil of yarrow contains chemical called proazolines. You know, azul is your Spanish word for blue, so for blue enes is forming names of unsaturated hydrocarbons. You see it hidden here in henna, the twitchy-watine, unsaturated hydrocarbon. And yarrow also contains isovaleric acid, salicylic acid, asparagine, and sterols. Sterile organic compound. It's a hydrocarbon. Additional functional groups and or modified ring systems derived from gonad are called steroids. Therefore, sterols are a subgroup of steroids. They occur naturally in most eukaryotes, including plants, animals, and fungi. And steroids, that's what makes you sterile, is where the word comes from. So it appears, that the midwives weren't throwing the boys into the river. It appears that Tamiel was throwing them into the river. Tamiel taught them the steroids. So the job was to have less boys. And so the wage, how they get by their wage, the job give war yarrow. To give them war yarrow, the mill date, Tamiel assail the strikes of Tamiel, his strikes, vios, to see, how as to make the eye consume, vios, to see, this is the one who sees the job done, who see, how vios, of less bitties, biddy is a girl, a hand, the biddies, BTTIS, to see as less biddies. And so it seems here, that they were wanting more men and less women. So they were trying to build an army. Why, it's to frolic of mom will command. Tamiel is teaching the moms how to have command over this. The call nab the ben. Call nab the ben. Nab, NB, to steal the son, to call him out, nab the ben. They ill would hire, HIARE, the hire it slick who. Somebody who's slick to it, somebody who knows. The hire it slick who, occult, UCLT, occult inhabit, inhabit, techie win. A tech is the Greek word for children, or TCH, the teach, make, win. So, they kind of got the story right. It's just that every noun and every verb has been twisted. And so after this study of the end of this, I'll go back and read the beginning, and it'll give me a better idea. Yeah, this is wall, WALLE. The wall is same, the same. What bing, what mark the time, his rule. The bays, who came. That's how it's sailors, because that's where you come in, is through the bays. the bays, and then you see how Egypt ends with an E now, and so it's the mix, R-Y-M-E, the mix rhyme. To make of in, to work of in C, of it to, U-V-I-T-U, of it to bow, in power, connected. And then you'll see the 12 sons, and the 12 sons is the mix rhyme. And so it's a secret code for the mixers, the brewers. And then after the mix rhyme, it'll start with a wage. And it's the wage to clasp and push. Clasp and push. That's when you're having a baby. And so this word down here for Hebrews, you'll see it changes. The ovary, it is the woman. But the next time it comes up, you see the extra U in here. The Hebrews. It says the same, Hebrews. In fact, they just add the E, the here, but that's in the E, the, ovary. And the dot in the I makes it two of them, so it's a O-V-R-Y and then a J-U-T, a jute. And that's jute, and the old Dutch is Jude. The cantation, attempt to gain an unfair price in a business deal. You got Jude. Is used because the police fine people as a punishment. Jute, slang, police agent, a cop. Middle Low German Jude, a Jew. So the bill dickin to her bow, ovary jute. To her bow, ovary jute. That's where they get the Hebrew, the Jude. So when you help give birth, you're Bill Dickin to. And so to, YR, you're in, and OE is just like AE, ash. OE is odal, and it means inheritance of, royalty, OE, odal. And so you're Bill Dickin to your odal, to your inheritance, to your son, the ovary jute.
Don't forget, hooty hoot, I won't forget.
All right, I'm gonna cut this off here. Good day.